First contact's price. The quantum comm alert pierced the silence of Director Sarah Chen's office aboard Ganymede Station. Her neural interface flashed urgent red, a Priority 1 transmission from Europa Research Base. Through the reinforced windows, Jupiter's massive form dominated the view, its swirling storms a stark contrast to the stillness of her sanctuary. "This is impossible," she whispered, reviewing the data streaming through her neural feed. The Vex Confederation vessels had appeared without warning, their quantum signatures masked until the moment of attack. Europa Research Base, humanity's premier deep space physics facility, had gone dark. 3 months earlier, first contact with the Vex had promised a new era of interstellar cooperation. Their ambassadors spoke of cultural exchange, technological sharing, and mutual growth. Humanity had been cautious but optimistic, carefully revealing only civilian research facilities while keeping their true technological capabilities hidden within Project Prometheus. The attack changed everything. In the United Earth Council chamber on Mars, Ambassador Michael Santos watched the holographic replay for the third time. The Vex ships, sleek crystalline structures that seemed to bend light itself, had emerged from quantum space directly above Europa. Their weapon signatures were unlike anything in human databases, or at least unlike anything in the public databases. They targeted the quantum containment facilities first. Lieutenant Commander Area Wong reported, her holographic form flickering slightly as Mars' quantum network compensated for solar interference. 273 researchers, no survivors. Santos' neural implant processed the strategic implications even as his human consciousness grappled with the loss of life. The Vex had chosen their target carefully, or so they thought. Europa Research Base had been designated as humanity's leading physics research facility, but it was also an elaborate decoy. The real quantum research happened elsewhere, distributed across thousands of seemingly mundane facilities on Earth and throughout the solar system. Humanity had learned long ago not to keep all their innovations in one place. The Vex ambassador is requesting an emergency session, his AI assistant reported. They claim no knowledge of the attack. Suggested might be a rogue faction. Santos smiled, but there was no warmth in it. His neural interface was already connecting to the Prometheus network, activating protocols that had been waiting dormant for decades. Humanity had hoped they wouldn't be needed, but they had never been naive enough to believe that hope was enough. In a secure quantum-shielded chamber beneath the Martian surface, Dr. Elena Rivera watched as the Prometheus matrices came online. Each crystalline quantum core pulsed with possibilities, processing power that the Vex couldn't begin to comprehend. They thought they had struck at humanity's heart of research and development. Instead, they had triggered humanity's transformation from a seemingly young spacefaring species into something far more formidable. "Begin protocol awakening," she commanded, her neural interface synchronizing with the quantum cores. Across the solar system, hidden facilities began to stir. In asteroid bases and beneath planetary oceans, in orbital platforms disguised as communications relays, and in underground bunkers that officially didn't exist, humanity's true technological capacity started to emerge. The Vex would soon learn that humanity's apparent technological level had been a carefully crafted illusion. Every seemingly primitive fusion reactor contained quantum computation cores. Every civilian communications array housed advanced quantum entanglement systems. Every human colony, no matter how small, was part of a vast, interconnected defense network that had remained dormant until this moment. As Ambassador Santos prepared to meet with the Vex representative, he received the confirmation he had been waiting for. Project Prometheus was fully operational. Humanity's response would not be the brutal military retaliation the Vex might have expected from a young species. It would be something far more sophisticated. "Tell the Vex ambassador I'll meet them in 1 hour," he instructed his eye, "and activate the quantum isolation fields. We wouldn't want our guests to detect anything premature. The real war wouldn't be fought with ships and weapons. It would be fought with technology so advanced it would seem like magic to their attackers." Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, building systems and capabilities that went beyond conventional warfare. The Vex thought they had struck a devastating blow. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had been preparing for this moment since humans first looked up at the stars and realized they might not be alone. The response was about to begin, and it would redefine what was possible in interstellar warfare. The silent response. The Vex ambassadors' crystalline form shimmered in the quantum-shielded chamber, their multifaceted sensory arrays scanning for any sign of human military mobilization. They found none. This concerned them more than any display of force would have. "We assure you, Ambassador Santos, that the Europa incident was the action of isolated extremists." The Vex representative's harmonics translated smoothly through the quantum interface. "The Confederation condemns such actions." Santos let the silence stretch, his neural implant recording every subtle shift in the Vex ambassador's quantum signature. Their species communicated as much through quantum state changes as through words. Right now, they were lying. In the depths of Mars' Quantum Control Center, Dr. Elena Rivera watched the exchange through secure feeds. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces as she directed humanity's true response. The Prometheus network was fully active now, its quantum tendrils reaching across space through channels the Vex couldn't detect. The first strike was already underway. No weapons fired. No ships moved. Instead, microscopic errors began appearing in Vex quantum financial systems. Trading algorithms started producing results that were just slightly off. Enough to seed doubt, but not enough to trigger immediate alerts. "We accept your explanation," Santos said finally, his voice carefully modulated. "Humanity understands that every civilization has its irregular elements." The Vex ambassador's relief was palpable, their quantum signature stabilizing. They didn't notice that during their entire conversation, quantum phase probes had been mapping their neural patterns, building a comprehensive model of Vex cognitive architecture. In orbit around Saturn, Lieutenant Commander Wong watched as the first real results of humanity's response began to manifest. Vex trading outposts were reporting mysterious system failures. Their quantum communication networks were experiencing unprecedented delays. Navigation computers were producing coordinates that were just slightly incorrect. "Phase 1 is proceeding as planned," she reported through her neural link to the Prometheus command network. "No signs they've detected the intrusion." The beauty of humanity's response lay in its subtlety. They hadn't developed bigger weapons or stronger shields. Instead, they had created systems that could manipulate reality at its most fundamental level. Every quantum computer in Vex space was now compromised, running code that had been injected through channels they hadn't even known existed. Dr. Rivera's team had spent decades studying Vex technology, not to copy it, but to understand its limitations. While the Vex had focused on building more powerful quantum processors, humanity had discovered how to operate between quantum states, in spaces that Vex science didn't even have words to describe. "Their entire financial system will collapse in approximately 72 hours, Rivera reported to the Emergency Council. "But they won't be able to trace it to any external attack. As far as they'll be able to tell, their own systems are simply failing." The Vex prided themselves on their technological superiority, their mastery of quantum mechanics. They were about to learn that they had been playing in the shallow end of a very deep pool. Humanity hadn't just advanced beyond their understanding. They had moved in directions the Vex hadn't imagined possible. In his office, Santos received the first reports of Vex military vessels being recalled to deal with growing infrastructure crisis. Their attack on Europa had been meant to demonstrate humanity's vulnerability. Instead, it had triggered a response that would fundamentally reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "Should we prepare a public statement about the Vex system's failures?" his AI assistant asked. "No," Santos replied, watching as another report of Vex system failures scrolled across his neural feed. "Let them wonder." Sometimes the most effective response is the one that leaves your opponent questioning everything they thought they knew. The Prometheus network continued its work, invisible and unstoppable. Every quantum transmission in Vex space was now being subtly altered, creating a cascade of minor errors that would gradually erode their civilization's technological foundation. They had thought themselves masters of quantum science. They were about to discover just how wrong they had been. As the galactic community watched, waiting for humanity's military response to the Europa attack, the real war was already being won in silence. The Vex would learn, too late, that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their military might or even their technological advancement. It was their ability to think in ways that other species couldn't imagine. Echoes of innovation. The first Vex warship arrived at Mars orbit exactly as humanity's quantum predictive matrices had calculated. Its crystalline structure blazed against the red planet's backdrop, a display of force meant to demand answers for their failing systems. They didn't realize they were walking into a demonstration. Dr. Elena Rivera stood in the Prometheus Command Center. Her neural interface processing data streams from thousands of quantum sensors. The Vex vessel's defensive systems were impressive by conventional standards. But humanity had moved beyond conventional physics decades ago. "Begin protocol revelation," she commanded, her words triggering sequences that had been waiting for generations. Around Mars, seemingly ordinary satellites began to shift. What appeared to be basic communication arrays transformed, quantum fields rippling as their true nature emerged. The Vex sensors registered nothing at first. These technologies operated in spectrums their science hadn't discovered. "They're charging weapons," Lieutenant Commander Wong reported from her station. "Standard quantum pulse cannons. Shall we raise shields?" Rivera smiled. "No need. Let them fire." It's time they understood what they're dealing with. The Vex ship launched its attack, a barrage of quantum energy that should have vaporized half of Mars' orbital infrastructure. Instead, the energy simply disappeared. Not deflected, not absorbed. It ceased to exist the moment it encountered humanity's phase shift field. In the diplomatic chamber, Ambassador Santos watched the Vex representative's quantum signature fluctuate wildly as they received reports of the impossible event. Perhaps, Santos suggested mildly, it's time we had a more honest discussion about technology. Humanity's orbital platforms were now fully transformed, revealing their true nature. Each was a node in a vast quantum network that could manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. The technology wasn't just advanced. It operated on principles that Vex science had never conceived. "Their ship is attempting to quantum jump," Wong reported. "Shall we let them leave?" "No," Rivera decided. "Show them why that's not possible anymore." The Vex vessel's quantum drive engaged, attempting to tear a hole in space-time. But the surrounding space had already been altered at a fundamental level. Their most sophisticated technology, the pride of their civilization, simply failed to function. In secure facilities across the solar system, humanity's real technological achievements were finally being revealed. Quantum phase shift generators that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized spaces, neural interfaces that operated beyond normal space-time, energy systems that drew power from the quantum foam itself. "We never wanted this revelation," Santos explained to the now silent Vex ambassador. "We were content to maintain our facade of limited technology, but you forced our hand with Europa." The Prometheus network was now fully visible, a web of quantum manipulation that extended throughout the solar system. Each node was a miracle of engineering, capable of things that Vex scientists had declared impossible. Their attack on Europa hadn't just provoked a response. It had shattered their understanding of what was possible. Dr. Rivera's team activated the final phase of protocol revelation. Across Vex space, quantum corridors began to close. Their ships found themselves unable to jump between systems. Their communication networks, dependent on quantum entanglement, started to fail. Not through attack or destruction, but simply because space itself no longer behaved according to their understanding of physics. They're requesting an immediate cessation of hostilities, Wang reported, a hint of amusement in her voice. They're offering reparations for Europa. Too late, Santos responded through the quantum link. They needed to understand that humanity's apparent technological level wasn't a limitation. It was a choice, one they forced us to reconsider. The Vex warship hung motionless in Mars orbit, its magnificent crystalline form now seeming somehow less impressive. They had thought themselves masters of quantum science, only to discover they had barely scratched the surface of what was possible. Humanity hadn't just surpassed them technologically. They had moved in directions that Vex science couldn't comprehend. As reports flooded in from across Vex space of failing systems and stranded ships, the true scope of humanity's capabilities began to dawn on them. They hadn't just awakened a sleeping giant. They had provoked a civilization that had transcended conventional understanding of physics and technology. The network effect. Deep within Titan's methane seas, something stirred. What the Vex had dismissed as a simple hydrocarbon mining facility began to pulse with quantum energy. Similar transformations were occurring across the solar system, beneath Europa's ice, in Venus's upper atmosphere, within Mercury's scorched caverns. Every human outpost, no matter how primitive it had appeared, was awakening. The network is achieving full resonance, Dr. Elinga Rivera announced, her neural interface streaming data from thousands of newly activated nodes. The Prometheus command center hummed with energy as humanity's true infrastructure revealed itself. Each colony, each mining operation, each research station was more than it appeared. Together, they formed a vast, living network of quantum-enabled systems that could reshape reality itself. The Vex had thought they understood human colonization patterns, simple expansion for resources, and living space. They couldn't have been more wrong. Ambassador Santos watched through secure feeds as the realization dawned on the Vex leadership. Their quantum sensors, sophisticated as they were, could barely comprehend what they were detecting. Every human installation was transforming, revealing capabilities that defied their understanding of physics. Their flagship is attempting another scan, Lieutenant Commander Wang reported from her station. Should we allow it? Let them look, Rivera decided. It's time they understood what they're facing. The Vex scan revealed a truth that shook their confidence to its core. Human colonies weren't isolated outposts. They were nodes in a vast, interconnected quantum web. Each facility could share energy, processing power, and even alter local space-time. The network didn't just defend human space, it transformed it. In the waters beneath Titan's surface, massive quantum processors disguised as mining equipment began their work. The liquid methane itself became a computational medium, solving complex equations that allowed the network to predict and counter any possible Vex response. Similar systems activated in Venus's atmosphere, using superheated gases to process quantum calculations at speeds that made traditional computers seem primitive. They're trying to establish a quantum communication link with their homeworld, Wang noted, but they're finding that space doesn't work quite the way they remember. The network wasn't just a defense system. It was a fundamental reimagining of how reality could be manipulated. Every human colony contributed to its power, each installation adding new capabilities to the whole. The Vex had attacked what they thought was humanity's premier research facility on Europa, never realizing that every human outpost was a research facility of equal or greater sophistication. Dr. Rivera's team had spent decades building this system, hiding its true nature behind a facade of primitive technology. Now, as the network achieved full activation, its true purpose became clear. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war. They had created a system that could prevent war by making conventional conflict impossible. Their scientists are requesting direct communication, Santos reported through the quantum link. They say it's urgent. I imagine it is, Rivera responded, watching as the network continued its transformation of local spacetime. They're probably starting to realize that their understanding of physics is incomplete. Across the solar system, the network's effect became more pronounced. Quantum fields rippled between colonies, creating pathways that only human ships could navigate. The very fabric of space-time was being rewritten according to humanity's design, turning the solar system into an impregnable fortress that operated on principles the Vex couldn't comprehend. The Vex flagship hung motionless in space, its crew watching in growing concern as their sensors reported increasingly impossible readings. Their quantum drives, the pride of their civilization, were useless here. Their weapons couldn't function in space that no longer obeyed their physical laws. They had thought themselves the masters of quantum science, only to discover they were children playing with simple tools. Should we offer them an escort out of the system? Wang asked, noting the growing distress signals from the Vex vessel. Not yet, Santos replied. Let them observe for a while longer. Sometimes the most effective diplomacy is simply letting your opponent understand the full magnitude of their mistake. The network continued its work, each colony adding its strength to the whole. What had appeared to be a scattered collection of vulnerable outposts was revealing itself as the most sophisticated defense system ever created, not through force or destruction, but through the fundamental transformation of reality itself. Tomorrow's dawn. The Vex Confederation's Supreme Council had gathered in emergency session, their crystalline forms reflecting the chaos of their quantum signatures. Before them, holographic displays showed the impossible. Their most advanced ships stranded in human space, their quantum networks failing, their understanding of physics itself proving inadequate. Ambassador Santos stood in the council chamber, his presence transmitted through quantum entanglement channels that humanity had allowed to remain open. Behind him, a visualization of the Prometheus network shimmered, its complexity beyond anything the Vex had imagined possible. You must understand, Santos began, his voice calm but carrying a weight that silenced the chamber, that humanity never wanted this revelation. We were content to develop our technology in silence, to learn and grow without drawing attention. The attack on Europa changed everything. In the Prometheus Command Center, Dr. Elena Rivera watched the proceedings through her neural interface. The network had achieved perfect stability, transforming the solar system into something that defied conventional physics. But that transformation wasn't meant for destruction. It had a far greater purpose. Your attack forced us to reveal what we are, Santos continued. Not just our technology, but our philosophy. Humanity didn't develop these capabilities for war. We developed them to transcend the very concept of conflict. The network's true nature was finally becoming clear. Each colony, each installation wasn't just part of a defense system. It was part of a vast experiment in reality manipulation. Humanity hadn't been building weapons. They had been learning to reshape the universe itself. Lieutenant Commander Wang's voice came through the quantum link. All Vex vessels have powered down their weapons. Their quantum signatures indicate confusion and something else, awe. The Supreme Council watched in stunned silence as Santos gestured, causing the holographic display to expand. It showed not just the current network, but its intended future, a system that could transform not just space, but the very nature of existence. We offer you a choice, Santos said, his words carrying across quantum space. Continue to view the universe as a battlefield where species compete for dominance through force, or join us in understanding the deeper truth, that the universe itself can be transformed, not through destruction, but through understanding. Dr. Rivera's team activated the final phase of the network. Across human space, quantum fields began to stabilize in new configurations. The laws of physics weren't being broken. They were being transcended, rewritten in ways that offered possibilities beyond anything the Vex had imagined. Your ships can't leave our space because they operate on principles that we've moved beyond, Santos explained. But we can teach you, not just how to navigate these new physics, but how to help create them. The council chamber erupted in a cascade of quantum signatures as the Vex tried to process this offer. They had attacked humanity expecting to find a vulnerable young species. Instead, they had discovered mentors who had transcended traditional technological development. The network isn't a weapon, Rivera transmitted through Santos's quantum link. It's a tool for transformation. Show them. With a gesture, Santos activated the final demonstration. The space around Earth began to shimmer as quantum fields realigned. What had appeared to be a simple planetary defense system revealed itself as an engine of reality transformation. The very fabric of space-time began to shift, not in destruction, but in creation. This is what humanity has been working toward, Santos said softly. Not the ability to win wars, but the power to make them obsolete. We offer you partnership in this endeavor. The attack on Europa can be more than a tragedy. It can be the catalyst for something greater. The VEX Supreme Council's quantum signatures stabilized for the first time since the crisis began. Their most advanced scientists were already beginning to understand the implications of what they were seeing. This wasn't just new technology. It was a new way of existing in the universe. As the network continued its transformation of local space-time, the truth became undeniable. Humanity hadn't just surpassed the VEX technologically. They had evolved beyond the very concepts that defined VEX civilization. The future they offered wasn't one of dominance or submission, but of transformation and growth. The choice is yours, Santos concluded, his words echoing through quantum space. Continue to think in terms of conflict and power, or join us in learning what's truly possible when we move beyond such limitations.